I still remember that night, like it's stitched into my bones. 2 squad cars creeping down the manicured streets of Crestview Hills, headlights slicing through the oak trees like they were on the hunt. I was just sitting in my car, engine off, phone in hand, outside the house I'd closed on barely a week earlier. My grandfather's old place. A place I thought was going to be my peace after years overseas. The autumn air was crisp, smelled like wet leaves and fresh-cut grass. Around here, that smell comes with a certain kind of silence, the kind folks pay millions for, and apparently the kind some folks think only certain faces are allowed to enjoy. I spotted them in my rear view before the lights came on. 2 officers, one tall and wiry, wearing that smirk people get when they think they've already sized you up and decided they don't like what they see. The other built like a linebacker, eyes cold, one hand draped on his pistol like it was just part of him. They didn't walk like men approaching a crime scene. They walked like men approaching property they thought they owned. A knock rattled my driver's side window. The tall one leaned in, flashlight blinding me. "Evening. You live around here?" I kept my voice steady. "Yes, sir. This is my house. Just moved in last week." He let the word ma'am slip right out of existence. License and registration. Now. I handed it over slowly because I've been in enough hostile places to know sudden moves get people hurt. He barely glanced at them before eyeing my sweatpants and hoodie like I'd committed a crime against the dress code of Crestview Hills. "House like that," he drawled. "You win the lottery. Or just have a generous boyfriend." The other one chuckled low and ugly. I took a breath deep and cold, like I used to before kicking in a door on the other side of the world. "Officers, you're making a mistake. I'm going to give you one chance to get back in your car and leave." That was apparently the wrong thing to say to a man whose ego was already swelling. His jaw clenched, he unhooked his holster, and the next thing I knew, I had not 1 but 2 barrels aimed at my chest. It's funny when you've spent a decade leading some of the most dangerous people in the most dangerous places, time slows when a weapon comes up on you. You start measuring distance, weight, reaction time. Tall one primary threat 4 feet away. Big one follower 7 feet watching the leader. My weapon concealed at my back. I could disarm the tall one in under a second. And then he made the mistake. He leaned in, gun practically inside my window, close enough I could see the oil on the slide. Left hand shot out, clamped his wrist thumb, driving into the nerve cluster. Right hand to my back, drew my Sig Sauer, twisted his weapon free before his brain could catch up. My boot hit his chest like a battering ram. He went flying backwards, air knocked clean out of him. The big guy's eyes went wide, gun coming up, but too slow. I stepped out, gun in a low, ready voice, cutting the night in half. "Drop it. Now." He hesitated. That one heartbeat too long. "Last chance, officer." I shifted aim to his shoulder, disabling shot. He got the message Glock clattering to the pavement. Both of them face down on the asphalt. Seconds later, their own weapons kicked into the grass. I picked up the big one's radio. "Dispatch civilian at 411 Maple Crest. I have 2 of your officers detained for aggravated assault. They're unarmed and uninjured. Send your watch commander and internal affairs. 5 minutes. The line went silent, like they'd never heard a sentence strung together that way. But they confirmed. And I waited, arms crossed, breathing steady. Sirens came soft, not screaming, controlled approach. First out was a gray-haired sergeant, hands up like I was the one they didn't want to spook. "Ma'am, what's going on?" "Your men, Clark and Jensen, assault with a deadly weapon, unlawful coercion under color of law. Internal affairs on site." The detective who stepped out of the next car stopped dead when I gave my name. "Commander Riley Cross," I said. He blinked. "Commander, Of what? That's classified. But your chief has a number for the Special Operations Command liaison. I suggest he use it. And just like that, the air changed. SOCOM isn't just the military. It's the elite. The ones who run missions the news never hears about. And I wasn't a soldier. I was the one sending soldiers. 15 minutes later, the chief himself arrived, looking like he'd been chewed up and spit out by the Pentagon. Commander Cross, he started, voice strained on behalf of the Crestview Hills PD. I sincerely apologize for I cut him off. Chief, your men profiled a citizen because of their skin color, escalated nothing into something, and aimed loaded weapons at an unarmed woman in her own driveway. That's not a mistake. That's a culture problem. To his credit, he didn't argue. They're suspended effective immediately pending termination. IA will handle the rest. I glanced at Clark and Jensen, now in cuffs, pale as ghosts. They'd picked a fight with what they thought was prey. Turned out, they'd been circling a shark. I turned toward my door. The chief called after me, voice thin. Commander. Again, I'm truly sorry. I didn't face him. Tell your men something for me. Next time, make sure you know who you're pointing your gun at. Click of the deadbolt behind me, and the noise outside faded into nothing. Inside it smelled like old wood and dust, like the past was still breathing in here. I leaned against the door, the cold weight of my cig still at my back, and thought about the two worlds I lived in. One shadows and whispered orders and places nobody could find on a map. The other quiet streets and perfect lawns, supposed to be safe. Tonight, those worlds collided. And I came out on top because I was Commander Riley Cross. But what about the woman who isn't? The teacher, the nurse, the kid driving home from practice. What happens when the lights hit their rear view and they don't have the training or the clout to make a police chief tremble? That question sat heavier than any weapon I've ever carried. Because I've fought for my country in deserts halfway around the globe, but the fight that leaves me most tired might just be the one on my own street under my own flag. So tell me when you hear a story like this. Do you think justice was really served? Or was it just luck that I was the one in that driveway? And if it had been you, how do you think it would have ended?